You're listening to The Paul Higgins Show, where ambitious tech consultants come to unlock their potential. After 18 years as a global leader, I launched several businesses, culminating in a successful exit. I'm sharing what I learned, plus what's working now from mentoring tech consultants. You will hear leaders within our industry to help you build a business you love that allows you to do what you want. If you are looking for immediate cash flow wins to fuel your growth, go to our free ebook at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap. Imagine you're a Salesforce partner and you know that someone's figured something out that you're struggling with. You've asked AI and it just hasn't really delivered what you want. And you really wish that you had a real person, a real Salesforce partner that you could talk to help. Hi, I'm Paul and welcome to the Paul Higgins Show. This is episode 579. And in this podcast, I talk to Jon Ewoniuk, and it's spelled Ewoniuk. So that's why I sort of paused for a moment. But Ewoniuk is how you pronounce it. And he's from a wonderful business called Peak 360 IT. And you're going to learn lots from Jon, but really three key things. One is how to create leads through effective LinkedIn posting. Jon does a brilliant job of it. His profile link will be in the show notes and you can see how he does it. And he talks about AI, what to do and what not to do. The second is how he uses on and off shore teams to grow his business. And thirdly, a wonderful mastermind that he's just set up exclusive for Salesforce partners that we go through. So Jon is the founder of Peak 360 IT, and he's a Salesforce partner. And as I said, he also runs the 360 Salesforce Mastermind with 25 years of experience in enterprise IT, software engineering, and data services. Jon has specialized in helping business optimize their Salesforce implementations and also integrate complex cloud and on-premise technologies. His expertise extends across multiple industries. He speaks a lot about telco, which is one of his favorites, but he's also done healthcare, finance, and he's also led other global development projects. Jon's leadership has guided organizations through Salesforce transformation, addressing challenges such as technical debt and process automation, which I know you're very familiar with. Previously, he held IT leadership roles at CenturyLink, and he also oversaw large projects. Jon founded the 360 Salesforce Mastermind after recognizing that Salesforce consultants and SI partners have the technical skills, but they don't always have the business skills, whether that's sales, marketing, client acquisition, and growing and scaling. And Jon's mastermind is designed to bridge the gap between brilliant technical skills you've got and you running a very successful business. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Jon. And don't forget, you can also see Jon on a video at our YouTube channel, Paul Higgins Mentoring. But I'll hand it over to Jon from peak360it.com. Great to have you here, Jon.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Yeah, well, look, I'm really excited to talk about the mastermind and how you're supporting Salesforce partners in particular in a moment. But why don't we kick off with your service side of your business? I know you're a Salesforce partner yourself. Who are your ideal clients as that partner, and what problems you love to solve for them?
Absolutely. Was a Salesforce partner since 2016. Started getting into the Salesforce agency side in 2014. So about 10 years or so. Came from a software development background. So I've managed software development organizations doing the Java, C++, enterprise apps at large companies like telecoms and stuff like that. Kind of came with that software development background. And when I got into the Salesforce side, our focus really came in from the development perspective because Salesforce was changing so much as a platform, going from a website. They brought mobile in, 2008, 9, 10, 11, whatever those years were. And I could see that the development aspects and integration aspects of Salesforce were going to grow. So brought that software development background and experience into the Salesforce world. Started the consultancy, and really who we work with from like a client perspective are typically enterprise organizations, specifically telecoms. So we've worked with all four telecoms, all the four big telecoms in the US. And telecom space is fairly complex. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to know, heavy integrations to back-end systems. There wasn't those middle tiers like MuleSofts and things like that back in the day. So a lot of it was point to point.
Yeah.
So we typically come in with more of the telecoms or enterprise organizations that need to have some heavy integrations to the back end systems, OSS, BSS, to make Salesforce work and give that customer 360 view.
Gotcha. And I'm an Australian. You can tell by my accent, but I work in North America. But I don't actually, once or twice a year I use your cell providers. Most of the time I'm sadly using Australian, and Australian have got old legacy systems, and as a customer service is absolutely terrible, and they charge like wounded bulls. What's it like in the US? Like with the four major players that they still got embedded with old legacy systems.
It's getting better, but it's still not great. Telecom goes back so long, like the US West, the Ma Bell. There's so many legacy systems, but I will say it's not as bad as it has been. There's been a lot of strategic initiatives in the telecoms over the last 4 to 5 years for sure. So it's improved a lot with more different architecture frameworks and middle tiers, apps like MuleSoft, Google Apigee. Getting those systems and gateways has helped a lot to at least encapsulate, hide the complexities, at least for the systems I want to call to get data.
Yeah, great. And with the enterprise, who are you normally working with within the enterprise teams?
Yeah, it's typically in IT, and it's typically director manager level of they own Salesforce. They typically have more than one app that they're responsible for, but coming into those IT side, the software development teams that are implementing Salesforce, mainly on the OSS support side. So network operations, trouble ticketing, ticket management, case management, outage management, kind of that side of things. And then sometimes coming into the BSS side with the ordering flows and the ordering organizations as well, but typically on the OSS side.
Right. And, you can't talk to a Salesforce partner at the moment without talking about Agentforce. Is there any benefits of Agentforce into your client base?
Before even the announcement of Agentforce came out, I think I did a few posts on LinkedIn just saying I think that the service side and the support side is the easiest way to implement AI. Just reading cases coming in, reading emails, responding to emails, understanding their sentiment, understanding their complaint, logging cases, tickets. I think that was a low-hanging fruit to implement AI. Agentforce, I think it's going to be good. I don't have a ton of knowledge on it yet, but I think the application of it is definitely going to make sense as long as the data is good. The customers and the clients and the business plan it beforehand. How do you want to use it? Do you have the data? Do you have the context? Do you have the flows? Do you know what you want it to do? I think it's going to be important to make it work, but I think it'll be good.
Yeah, brilliant. And for you and the way that you structure your team, like are your team onshore, offshore, like how do you sort of structure your back end to deliver the work?
I do both. I do onshore and offshore, and I always lean on one or two primary right-hand people I have that are absolute studs.
Yeah.
Like they just have been in software and development, and they know everything. They study, they keep up to date. So I've been blessed having some really strong tech leads that drive the work offshore and also onshore. But I definitely structure it from letting people be responsible for teams, driving the work, and putting really good people in the leadership roles.
Right. And the offshore, what are the locations?
Mainly Hyderabad and Chennai.
Okay. So Indian base. Right.
Yeah.
I thought maybe with your Ukrainian background, you might have had people in Ukraine, but not the case.
It's crossed my mind, possibly coming up. I mean some cool people.
Yeah, fantastic. And just the last quick question on the SI component before we get to this great mastermind that you've built. The source of leads, it sounds like you've had long-term established relationships, but, any new deals that come in, are they sort of led by Salesforce and the AEs, or are they more self-generated?
The first question I'll take to the next topic, the mastermind. Again, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, but typically I'm fairly known in the telco space, especially being in the industry so long. So
Yes.
the majority of mine is network, knowing certain people in the industry, certain execs and people embedded in the telcos and the companies. So a lot of it's word of mouth. I would say 10 to 20% might be someone stumbling upon me on LinkedIn as I'm doing posts and just reaching out and connecting and getting it that way. But for the majority of it, it's word of mouth with my current network from the SI perspective.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And, we're recording this in November. It's going to come out in December of 2024. And I think, most of the Salesforce partners that have relied heavily on AEs, definitely leads have shrunk, not dried up completely. So I think, self-sourcing is something that I always talk about, and no doubt we're going to talk about it in when we talk about the mastermind. So the mastermind, which is the 360 Salesforce mastermind, and you can find more about that in Jon's LinkedIn, and we'll have the profile and all the links to that. And just a reminder, it's episode 579, and we're talking to Jon Ewoniuk. The mastermind, we'll get to the detail of it, but what was the motivation for you to do it? You already got a very busy business already. What motivated you to then go and help others outside of your own business?
I post a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm not afraid to share my thoughts. And as I was sharing my thoughts and getting feedback from people on what you mentioned about the leads coming from Salesforce and the AEs, they've definitely dried up. And a lot of times it was never there for a lot of consultancies and partners as well. What I realized was most partners come from people that have technical backgrounds. They don't really necessarily know how to run a business, how to market, how to define an ICP, how to get your name out there. They think that, I can become a partner and put my shingle up, hang a sign, and I'll get all these leads.
Yes.
So I did a poll on LinkedIn. I was just curious how many partners get leads from Salesforce. Do they get any at all the way down to none? And it was like 90% haven't gotten a lead from Salesforce.
Yeah.
So it was really that 10% that did. And while I was looking at the industry, especially with the partners, I just saw a need where they were not frozen, but the customers are waiting for specific partners and the Salesforce tech side to start talking to them on how they're going to provide value. Do they understand their business? And I think it was both on the customer side and the Salesforce partner side, where the Salesforce partners need to do a better job of defining who they are, who they're targeting, communicating the message to the market, talking to customers, and letting customers go, yes, I need to talk to this partner. They solve a problem I have. I manufacture windows, and they do Salesforce or manufacturing companies that understand manufacturing of windows and the pain points I have. I want to talk to them. Started the mastermind because I think people didn't know what to do, and I saw it all over the place. So I wanted to bring people together to start learning together, talking together, and getting people to understand how to talk to the market.
Yeah, and if you've been listening for a while to the podcast, firstly, thank you, and reach out. I love to hear from you when you have been a long time listener. But you know that I talk about this all the time, right? And I
Yes.
couldn't agree more. And I suppose it come from a franchisee background. The Coca-Cola company. And it's always a tight tension that, yes, you're supporting and you need a really strong marketing from your, let's call this Salesforce, and also you need a strong product, but you also have to look after yourself, right? Because they will make decisions that aren't always in your best interests. And, ultimately, so if I look at the Coke company wanted to sell as much of the syrup as possible, and we had to try to make as much profit as possible. So there was always this tension. What happens in the SaaS world? The SaaS world is the SaaS companies want to sell as many licenses as possible, and you're trying to make money out of doing that, right? So there's always this tension, and I agree. Certainly in the smaller end, I think that 90%, of the 90%, do you know what sort of tiers or what size of partners answered that? Have you got any insight?
I think it was definitely mainly small partners, the ones that are either fairly new, 2, 3, 4 years, or still fairly small. I think the bigger ones that, let's say, have 30, 40, 50 plus, I think they're getting a decent lead flow from Salesforce. So it's mainly the new and or smaller partners.
Yeah, and look, we've had some brilliant partners on. John Burdett comes to mind. There's, Shell Black. There's a lot of great partners that have been in the ecosystem for a long, long time, and they've got long embedded relationships with Salesforce, AEs, etc. And they work very, very hard to do that. So if you're new to the game, you've got to be much better at them. And it's natural for an AE to trust someone that they've worked with on several deals already than trust someone brand new, right? So you've got
Correct.
that as a headwind as well. And for you, I know that you've been very successful on LinkedIn, like you said. LinkedIn, from a posting point of view, has certainly changed a lot. I got into it back in sort of 2016. I remember, back then, if I got 300,000 views to a post and 5 clients, I was upset, right? This is
Right.
crazy. Whereas
Right.
now, they've just notified me my post has gone crazy about my webinar, and I've got like 7,500 impressions, right? I wouldn't even look at that. But you've been posting for a long time. What do you know about success on posting, and what's your view about how to deliver that success at the moment?
I used to think consistency was important, but I don't now. So that's kind of one takeaway. I think it's more important to have a specific topic and pain point that you're talking about. And the acronym, if you put yourself on the other side of someone reading your post, always thinking about what they are thinking, like what's in it for me. So
Yes.
the acronym, what's in it for me. And when
Yes.
you're writing your content, writing your post, you want to put yourself in their shoes. And as they're reading it, what are you communicating to them that they would care to keep reading? Typically, it's a challenge, a pain point. Hey, this guy understands me. He understands my challenge. It's the main thing. You can post once a week. That'll hit people and they'll respond. But if you post about general stuff for seven days a week, the consistency doesn't matter. But and then also the formatting. I know it's basic. Formatting is so key. People won't keep scrolling down or keep reading if it's a jumbled paragraph. There's a logical sequence to when you're communicating on LinkedIn and you're talking to your ideal client or to whoever you want to talk to. There's also a structure and a format that you need to learn and understand about the situation, how you might solve it, your thoughts, what to do next, and those type of things. So those are the important aspects that I've learned over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the reason I'm digging into this, it's very valuable for you, listening to John, episode 579. But also, these are some of the topics, no doubt, that are spoken about in the mastermind. So you're getting a bit of an experience of John and what would happen in the mastermind. So it's twofold. But as far as AI, how much are you using AI to help with the content writing now on LinkedIn versus John standalone?
Fantastic questions. Number one, I can spot an AI post a mile away if it has rocket ships and targets. Right? It's like everyone already knows that's an AI post, dude. So I tried that. I did some tests. AI by itself, if you just try to do a prompt and get AI to do a post for you, it's gonna fall on flat ears. It's not gonna work well. But I have found some good tricks on how to leverage AI. I think number one, the biggest thing I use it for that does work is writing viral hooks.
Yes.
It's all about the hook. I'd say the most important aspect of a post is the hook for the person to be interested, click to read more and go, and to get engaged in your post. So I have seen success working on prompts with AI to say, hey, I need 5 viral hooks on this topic. And then once I get the hook and get it started, then I flow with my own thoughts for the rest of the post. And I've seen that work pretty well.
Yeah, and look, for me, I'm at 20%. I'll write the post, and normally what I do is instead of write, I'll talk it. So I'll talk it, that transforms into text, so it's not perfect. Then I normally use Claude 3.5. I find that much better than ChatGPT for content. And now I've got, custom, I'm using, projects is in Claude, but I've uploaded every post that I've ever done, or all my good ones at least. And then it's sort of using that to go. And then what I can do is ask it questions and say, go and pull a stat out of a post that I've done in the past about this topic or whatever. So it can act as like an intern for you, but it's got to be your voice, and I think that's we're both saying the same thing. And quickly for you, how do you balance between, you got 2 clients, right? You've got telcos as an example, and then you've got your mastermind. How do you balance posting to 2 different audiences?
So I haven't been posting to my primary audience lately, just because not that I haven't had to, but I've been focusing mainly on the mastermind for like the last 5 months. That's something I'm trying to figure out in the next month or so. It's a great question because I got to make that pivot and figure out how to do both.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I find that, and it's, one of the key things is, you've heard me bang on about niching or niching before. And I think, that clarity of message, I think, is really important when you're on LinkedIn. Like you said, you pick a topic and your people know and respect you for that. Just quickly, YouTube,
Right.
like, are you doing anything on YouTube, or have you, any of your people in the mastermind having success on YouTube?
So I did start a podcast. Maybe I'm inspired by everything you do, right? So I started a podcast for the Mastermind a couple weeks ago. I already have 5 episodes, so it's on
Yeah.
Spotify and YouTube. So, what I'm trying to do with this Mastermind is also talk to people that are in the Mastermind, interview them like this, and promote them a little bit, get their feedback and insights. And so that's what we're doing on the YouTube and podcast side. And then that's also what I'm trying to teach and get people comfortable doing within the Mastermind as well. So we're all learning how to do it, learning together, growing together, figuring things out together. So that's actually what we did as part of the Mastermind.
Right. And everyone's got a different definition of a mastermind, right? What's your
Right.
definition of a mastermind?
I would say my definition is, like, my tagline for it is getting better together. I think it truly is. My definition is a bunch of people that are in similar positions or spots in their career or agency, all working together to get smarter together week after week, month after month, and building a strong network. But typically what I try to, when people ask it, I respond with what it's not. Like, it's not really a user group that gets to like 60,000 people on LinkedIn. It's not like a forum. It
Yeah.
truly is people coming together every week. We have weekly calls for 90 minutes. People bring their current challenge that they're having at that time for the group to work on collectively, give their feedback, their experiences. They have been there, done that. That's really the core aspect of the Mastermind, is truly the meeting once a weekly, working on people's challenges, and coming next week with their next challenge and keep moving forward as a group.
Yeah, great. And once again, if you've been listening to me for some time, we've got a community. It's called the Tech Collective, but we don't have weekly calls. Yeah, so this is why I brought Jon on, because Jon's got a different format. So if that's what you're looking for, Jon is great, and the links will be in the show notes. The 360 Salesforce Mastermind, like I said, on the LinkedIn profile, you'll find out about that. And Jon's overall website is peak360it.com. So what are some of the most pertinent topics at the moment? Like, you got the insight into, and I know that you sort of do people that are entry, you've got people that have sort of got the, 5 to 15, and then you've got another tier, which is sort of the 30 plus. So you got sort of 3 different groups. If we take the first 2 as an example at the moment, what are sort of the topics any themes or key topics that you got at the moment?
Ironically, all 3. So as part of when I did one LinkedIn post when I mentioned this Mastermind, that I was doing it like in July or August, can't remember the date, but I had over 100 applications sent in within like a 10-day period. And I put on there a questionnaire. So I asked, what are your current challenges? What are you looking to get out of joining the Mastermind? And I was able to get data back from people.
Yes.
And across all 3 tiers, by far, I just looked at the data yesterday, 99.4% of the respondents I've had so far want to grow their business. And the second thing is brand awareness, by far, even more than, and then third is networking. But by far, what everyone wants to do is understand, how do I grow my business? I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to know what other people have done. And that's primarily what we're focused on.
Yeah. And look, I think having interviewed so many great Salesforce partners for the years now, I think the brand awareness. So for me, in my experience with Coca-Cola, very different building a brand within Coca-Cola versus building your brand here. Thinking you touched on it before, I think being really known within a specific niche or niche, I think, is my definition of brand awareness. And as you articulated really well, it's understanding their pain points and talking to them directly, right? I go to so
Right.
many Salesforce partners' website, and I'm sure you're the same, Jon, and it's just like, well, it's like every other Salesforce partner. I've got no idea. You list every cloud, you list every industry, and it's just a generic blob of, got no idea. I'm completely confused as a consumer hitting your
Right.
website. If that's you and you're nodding, and you don't just have to be Salesforce, right? I know that other people listening across platforms, it's endemic across our industry. That's the opportunity to really say, well, actually, I'm sitting on the fence, and that's very dangerous, right? I've got to make a call. And Jon, referrals will still come to you regardless of what your LinkedIn and your website profile looks like, right? I'm sure, Jon, if
Right.
you're talking, about your mastermind at the moment, but I'm sure, that doesn't mean that a telco client's going to come to your profile and go, oh, no, sorry, Jon's changed tact. I'm not going to work with him anymore, right? It doesn't
Exactly.
happen that way. It's a fear, but
Ex-
it doesn't happen that way.
Exactly. And touch on that. That's what we talk about in the Mastermind. The people are very uncomfortable niching down. And that's one thing we try to work with as well, is You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable and give it a shot. And worst case, you can pivot. Like worst case, give it a shot, pick an ICP, go after a specific niche. And if it doesn't work, you can always change, but at least give it a shot. And people are very, very uncomfortable because they feel they're missing out on opportunity when actually you're creating more opportunity by far.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. Well, look, I know we could talk a lot more about this. As I said, all the links are going to be to Jon and the great work he's doing. If you're looking from a client point of view, you can see that. But also if you are facing some of these challenges Jon's spoken about today, and you want to do it in a collective mastermind, I think Jon's what he's set up is brilliant, and it's a great place for you to go and find out. But what we're going to do is pause for a moment. We're going to thank our sponsors, and then we're going to come back and ask Jon some rapid fire questions.
Running a tech consulting business can feel like a solo journey, but what if you didn't have to navigate it alone? Introducing the Tech Collective, your go-to resource for tackling those burning questions and unlocking your potential. Join a dynamic collective of experienced tech consultants ready to share insights, strategies, and support to help you today. Grappling with sales, clients, team challenges, our Tech Collective has your back. Join us today at paulhigginsmentoring.com/TC. There's a link in the show notes. There's a small application, and as a thank you for being a listener, enter the coupon code TC, capital TC25 at checkout. That's TC25 to get 25% off. Visit paulhigginsmentoring.com/TC today.
Brilliant. So, Jon, I'm going to ask you 4 questions, get rapid responses. So the first one is, what are some of the daily habits that help you run Peak 360 IT and the Mastermind?
I try to get into daily habits. I try to get into certain flows throughout the day. So I know morning flows like my LinkedIn, my post flow. I know mornings are my meetings, but it's understanding my flows throughout the day.
Great. The next one is, where do you go to learn more?
I like the LinkedIn network. I like watching LinkedIn or reading LinkedIn and reaching out to people when I find something interesting to learn more.
Great. And if we could grant you one wish, what would it be? And in particular, I suppose, from the Mastermind perspective.
I would say actually one wish I had back on the SI agency, if that's cool, I could work in person more with people. We got so distributed that I'm actually reflecting back in the day of working together in the office and maybe talking to people face to face.
Fantastic. And the last one is, what do you know now? You know, you started, like you said, in 2014 in the ecosystem. What do you know now about Salesforce that you wish you had known earlier?
That I've known about Salesforce that I wish I'd known earlier, how important it would have been to build and forge more relationships within the Salesforce ecosystem, the AEs, the sales, and getting more engaged back there. I wish I would have did that way earlier on.
Yeah. And look, I think, you always play to your strengths, right? And I think, if you come from a heavy technical background like that, sales and marketing doesn't always fall naturally to you, right? But that's where I think
Correct.
Jon has evolved within his business, and that's how he's going to help you in the mastermind. And, none of us can rely just purely on the technology now, because guess what? They can find out 9% of it now on AI, right? Like, you look at the way that you're researching now and how easy it is. Your clients are doing the exact same thing. So you've got to bring that unique difference around what is the business problem you're solving, and not just technical anymore. But Jon, brilliant to have you on today, and thanks for sharing about your business and also the great mastermind.
Thanks, Paul. Had a blast. Thanks a lot.
What a great interview with Jon. And I think, he gave you some really good tips on LinkedIn posting. He also spoke about, how he runs his SI business, but also this exciting new mastermind that he's created. You can get that through the links here on his LinkedIn, but why don't you reach out to him on LinkedIn, so that you heard him here on the Paul Higgins show, and also ask him any questions that you've got. And also, if there's peers that friends that are looking for something like a mastermind, please share it with them. They'll think you're a rock star. And also, don't forget to watch Jon and I on the YouTube channel. And if you love what you see and hear there, please subscribe to get regular YouTube videos from me. I'll see you next time on the Paul Higgins Show.
Time for action. Let me know what you implemented from the show. I promise to respond. Plus, get the Tech Consultants Roadmap at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap.